Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and I've got this special day set and I'm going to be using this gorgeous girl image. She's actually like a bride-to-be kind of image, and I can't see myself ever using her like that, so I decided to actually cut the veil off. I could have selectively stamped it, but I just thought I'm more likely to use this image if she's like just a girl sitting on a chair. It just suits me better. So just being very careful as I'm cutting away the parts of the stamp that I don't want, but I can easily join them back together if I did want to use them like that. So today's card is going to be all about masking and smooshing. So she does have a little like a part of the veil on her head, so I simply just mask that off with a piece of Inkadinkado stamping mask paper, and I just figured I'd draw that in a little bit later. But the other thing you could do, I thought, was actually put a flower or something in her hair to cover it up if you didn't particularly want to go to the effort of masking. So I'm working on some watercolor cardstock, and this is the Express It one. It's a really smooth, heavy cardstock. I think it's 350 grams, and it's just lovely and smooth, and I thought I'd give this a try with the Molotow masking pen. So before I do my background, I'm actually before I do my background, I'm actually colouring my image. So I'll just leave you with some music and I'll be back when the colouring's done. So I actually did heat set this image, and now I'm going to add my mask. Now to do this, I'm using a Molotow masking pen, and this is the 2mm one, which is great because it gets into the really fine sort of intricate areas that I don't want the background ink to be shown. And because I'm going to be doing the smooshing technique, I'm like a paper mask wouldn't work because the ink from the background would seep underneath. So you really need, the only way to do this would be with a liquid mask, and there are quite a few out there. And this is fairly new to me, this pen, so I'm still playing with it. But to actually get the masking fluid out of the pen, it's just a simple matter of pressing down on the nib of the pen, and that just releases the fluid from behind. And then before I add my ink, I'll just set this aside to dry for a short while. And now it's time to do my smooshing on my background, and I'm working on my craft sheet and simply just adding the distress ink to the craft sheet, spraying it with some water from a mini mister, and then lay the acetate on top and pick up the ink color, and then I can just lay it across my panel where I want. And I have this panel cut to the same size as my card front and taped off with a nice sort of, I've tried to get the border as even as I can right around the edge because I want to make this look like a one layer card, even though the watercolor cardstock's going to be sitting on top of the actual card base. There won't be any sort of foam dimensionals or anything holding it out. So I am actually covering as much of the front as I can with the inks. And the three colours that I'm using today are old paper, dried marigold, and worn lipstick. And in between each layer of colour, I like to try and let it dry as naturally as possible. I think you get better ink splotches when you do that, but I did actually use the heat tool as well just to speed up the process. And you know, you can easily just keep adding layers and layers until you're happy. I also wanted to add some ink spatters, and the lighter colours just weren't showing up very well, so after it had dried I used some abandoned coral and just picked it up with my brush. And then I've got some gold tattered Angels glimmer spray, and I just love the way that this reacted with the distress inks. Because it has the water in it, when it hits the actual distress inks, it gives like a little watery effect on there, as well as the gold shimmer, so it just looks awesome. Now it's time to remove the mask, and this is where I was thinking, oh no, what have I done again? And I'm not sure if I just didn't leave it long enough to dry, if it's the paper or what was going on, but anyway, it seemed like the Inktense pencils lost their brightness, if that's a way to explain it. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, but I did manage to get the mask off, and in a couple of places it lifted the paper, but I was really very gentle. It took me ages, and my finger just wouldn't move the masking liquid at all once it had dried. I used my gum eraser, which is a really handy tool to have, and I just edged my way and was very careful trying not to actually rip the paper so that I could save this card. So basically I had to colour the whole thing again, and I just went over it with my Prismacolor pencils, and I'm thinking now I've got nothing to lose because I didn't like the way that the Inktense looked after, and in retrospect I think I'm gonna either try doing my colouring after I've masked, or actually try some different watercolour cardstock. So if you've got any hints, please let me know. And this is where I'm fixing up her hair and adding the colour. But what I do as well if I'm colouring with Prismas, because it can cause a bloom and you can lose the edges of your stamp, of the black stamped image, I'll just use a nice sharp black pencil to add those details in again. For my sentiment today, I've got the word hello, and it's from the Let's Chat set. And after all this work, colouring her in twice, thinking I'm going to lose the card altogether anyway, I decided to use the Misty to do the sentiment. Thank goodness. Then you know it's going to be right. And if it's not right, you can always restamp. And I used lots of adhesive on the back of my watercolour panel just to make sure that it holds tight to the card base. I added a couple of enamel dots, and that's my card done for today. I hope you've had some fun. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.